Morning class 12. Today we're going to talk about Ghana's decolonization, that is Africa, its background and independence. Now, before independence, Ghana was known as Gold Coast, and it was known as Gold Coast just because of a large amount of gold along the Ankobara and the Volta River. Here you have the map of Africa. There you can see where Ghana is, okay, western part of Africa. Earlier it was known as Gold Coast, and then after 1957, after its independence, it is known as your Ghana. Now this part of Africa becomes very much, attractive for the Europeans. It was because of the availability of gold, diamond, and of course the free labor, that is slaves. And then you have the Europeans, attracted to this geographical area. Therefore, you have your Portuguese. They arrive around 1471, Portuguese, and that's how it is named as Gold Coast. And you have Britishers. They arrive around 18th century. Now you have the original tribal people of Africa, and they were known as your Ashantis and your Fantis. Now some of the Britishers, they start to intervene with the Ashanti tribes and the Fanti tribes. They start to settle matters for them, and hence then you have the start of your colonization process. Now the Fanti tribes, they signed the bond of 1844 at Formira Adansi, and that permits the British to take charge of the judicial authority from the African courts. Then you have British also now taking up control of some settlements, and they set up a legislative council to govern the areas under their control. In 1901, you see British did declare the southern territory, that is southern part of Africa, under control, and northern part of Africa as a protectorate. While the Ashanti, the tribal people, was a colony by conquest. So they conquered the Ashanti area. 1925, now you have British introducing a constitution in Gold Coast to vote for the Legislative Council. And hence now we have the role that is played by Big Six. They're the name of six political leaders of Africa, you can see, who demand for independence. The very most prominent, part that was played was by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. The next you have is known as Akufo Addo, Edward Akufo-Addo, J.B. Danquah, William Oforiatta. They formed a political party, and that was the most important party you see. That was the UGCC, United Gold Coast Convention, it was known as. And this was the political party which campaigned for self-governments from the British in the year 1947. So you see the post-World War period, where you see the decolonization process that takes place in Africa. Then in Asia, you can see India, that was the biggest example. That was a negotiated peace. And China, we've already seen the process, that was a civil war. So now these UGCC, leaders, they start a campaign, and they led a march to Christiansburg Castle, that was the seat of your colonial government. Now the police orders fire to disperse and started to fire, fire against the people. So here you see 3 people who were dead, and so this leads to 5 days of riot. Now Kwame Nkrumah was blamed for it. Now after this, you see Kwame leaves the UGC, that is the United Gold Coast Convention, and he forms a separate political party that was known as the CPP, the Convention of People's Party, June 1949. Now those people, those leaders who were more radical, supported Kwame Nkrumah. Now this party was more particular about Gold Coast being independent, no more of your foreign intervention or your colonial rule. Nkrumah had led peaceful protests, actually, but it turned violent. So for this, he was arrested and sent to jail for 1 year. On 8th of February, you have Kwame Nkrumah, 1951, Gold Coast held its first general election, and the party of Kwame Nkrumah, that is CPP, that is Convention of People's Party, won, and Kwame becomes the Prime Minister of the Gold Coast. That means he got an entrance to the Legislative Council. But finally, it was only on 6th March, that is 1957, it was not only of Kwame Nkrumah, of course, he was the most prominent leader, but you also have the help of the other 5 leaders, and that's how you have your Ghana becoming the first sub-Saharan African country to become independent. So that's, you have Kwame Nkrumah, and that's your flag of Ghana.